Dear colleagues, I wish you good morning. I'm really glad to see all of you here, and I'm really proud to open this 10th Analyst Day conference. This is an anniversary, and if you have not waken up yet, I will help you to wake up finally. So let's start this outstanding conference, and today I would like to talk about a very sensitive topic, like what will be the role of analytics in the future. But of course we won't be able to answer all the questions during this short presentation, so I will just present to you one of the possible options. So I was pushed by life, by the work, to think about this topic. We have quite a lot of analytics. We are covering quite large territories. We have offices, branches in all countries of the world. We have various customers, large and small, and this imposes some additional requirements, demands to analytics. They have to analyze the growth, development. It should be efficient, and that's their responsibility. And that's why it triggered this presentation, this topic to be raised at the conference. And one way or another, we have to understand, probably we want to understand, how new instruments, new approaches, new customers with new business models want to be competitive in their markets, how all they affect our activity, and how can we manage this big orchestra of various accounts and tools. So, and we have to become this kind of orchestrators. We, as analytics, can manage, have to manage and define the policy of this activity. I will try to make my presentation as useful as possible, but please raise your hands who've been working as analytics more than 10 years. That's good. Who've been working less than 3 years? Okay. I see. That's fine. Thank you. So I will try to focus on how you can use my presentation in your work. It depends on your maturity, of course, but that's why I asked you about your experience to understand what shall I focus on primarily. So I will focus on a service company which works in local market with global brands, with broader service offers for its customers. And if you are still not working in this area, or maybe you are already working but have some questions and challenges you were not able to resolve yet, so then probably my presentation will help you. So if we look at the dynamics of demand in the IT market, then starting from the classic development of software, so in the market we are getting higher and higher demand for the services which surround the development process as is. I mean services on delegating, outsourcing, when the development team comes to the territory of the customer, and the customer gets broader opportunities in terms of the code which is developed. For example, in the bank there are 3,500 employees, and in the PAM 5,000 employees. So if the budget is good, then they can access to the pool of 10,000 developers. So I mean, if you want to hire, just hire 10,000 developers. It will be much more expensive and difficult than just to outsource them. Also, with time, the technological services, demand for technological services is growing. It's when the customer needs some expertise to decide whether to continue with this or that technologies or platform, or maybe to change it. So how to select the best platform which can be used out of the box and implementing the solutions. So all these issues, they fit very well the demand when a mature service company can be asked, so this is the zone, the territory where you live, so please advise us how to do our job in the best way. So any service company should make some proper offers adapted to the current situation. And we now understand that we've got demand for orchestrating or conducting this big orchestra of various instruments that we use. And we are saying that, well, we need some solutions, or we need to support in taking decisions, how to balance the number of people in the team, how to select members of the proper gender and experience. Also, build versus buy principle, when a customer doesn't know how to make something cheaper or more efficient in the best way, so whether to develop a project from the scratch or to outsource it or buy it. So consulting on all these things like strategic issues, and that naturally falls within the scope of responsibility of a service company, naturally. So if we generalize, summarize what is different in a traditional company from what we have to become in perspective in the future, it's like coming to the strategic services, like consulting services, customer experience and user experience, when we can make soft more user-friendly, more efficient for end users. And that's quite deep knowledge in specific business domains and industry. Without that, unfortunately, it's not possible to organize work at higher level. Focus groups won't be able to work at high level, at the bank level, because if you want to work with the bank and you don't know some specific features of this bank operation, so then it will be quite noticeable for the representatives of the customer who are present in the meetings. And also mindsets, skill sets like agile and product development are necessary in tailored product development. And but actually, this is the demand that is being born currently in the market, and we have to fit with it to stay in the market, actually. And also another point is that competition in the market is very strong. These are the biggest brands which have high capitalization, big companies, and they have consultants, agglomerates, big service companies. And if we are quite honest as analytics and we set a target for ourselves to help the company not only to survive but to win in the market, then we have to think how we can actually make it. So let's think, who is the hero who can manage, who can orchestrate to bring harmony to all this versatile business world, which can influence some decisions without powers delegated to take these decisions and to be quite independent taking the decisions like that.
Because the company says will allow customers to opt for the company. The key here is the focus on business value. Business value is part of managing your business relations with the customer. Business relations are everywhere, but the relations between the colleagues is not, strictly speaking, business. Everything around profit. This is what I call business. A breakthrough competence of someone focused on unleashing the potential of the company, the resources of money, while overcoming incorrect processes and mitigating risks of an immature team or an incompetent team, fighting the lack of resources and time. If this leads to realizing and unleashing the profit, this won't stay unnoticed by your bosses. Next comes the complexity. Complexity is a very, possibly a theorized topic, because we're trying to build a product which is intended for the target audience in 5 years, but will be integrated with other products developed by distributed teams of the third-party vendors, improving performance and scalability. This is a complexity. It's truly a complexity. I'm not going to explain this to you because otherwise we won't be sitting here. There may be some personal approaches. Their skills, its tips and tricks, which the person accumulates over the course of her work, and the industry standards as well. This is something we have to cope with, and we have to guarantee the result. Next comes architecture thinking. Architects are a separate class of people, you might think, but I would like to dwell on the architecture as well, because you have to understand how the demand is distributed in the market and how the operational model of the company works, how the technology transforms the demand into the backlog, which is then being projected onto the 5-year plan of development. This is how architecture thinking works, IT-oriented architecture thinking. And this is a key element as well, because without a vision, you won't be able to ensure that this consultant, which is a sort of an escort into the IT world. Without this architectural thinking, the whole system, the whole relations won't work. Let's imagine, what is the chance of a non-specialized company to develop a specialist like this? The chance is really small, is slim, because there won't be any orders like this in the coming future. The service companies, in contrast, have those specialists working with the customers on a daily basis. So this is something everyone expecting from us. Another thing which is of crucial importance is the business scenario. It is no secret anymore that the customer has his or her market strategy. For instance, he wants to roll out a product into the existing market, or to improve the new product to have it introduced into the new market. This is the simplest framework There are more complicated ones, but the problem here is that the market strategy is imposed onto a specific scenario which we implement for the customer. Take M&A, merger and acquisition. If some retail company buys another one, or if a bank acquires another bank, speaking about the daily activity of the process they will differ from a project concerning automation to reduce operational costs. And of course, if we speak about a breakthrough, a disrupting project, this won't be anything similar to digital transformation. So this business scenario is hard to manage, but we should at least be able to identify and to understand the influence it exerts into our daily life. So this is what is required from an employee like this. I'll be making it even more dense by saying that the strategies of the customer and your company do not always align, but the value of the employee is to move between those strategies and to understand the specifics of the customer. This is an achievement, and this is something companies will pay for. Another viewpoint, another take on the problem, which see an employee who understands correctly the scenarios, who sees the world, the architecture of the world, the architecture of the project, who is able to build relations and build them in a transparent way and ensure transparency in the project. He or she is the one who can be asked how releases should be planned, how the interactions between roles should be constructed, like the UX and the analysts and so on and so on. So all those questions will be focused in the service company, and not satisfying this demand will be a business crime, because you will shape the opinion. Because the customer will think the guys are hiding something from us. They know, but they hide it. And so this hurdle then appears. So this demand has to be satisfied. You have to answer, you have to provide services like this. What do you think? How often do you hear this software does not satisfy our requirements? You cannot help but include the expectation management into the skill set of the future here. And to sum it up, to sum everything up, this should be a guaranteed and a constant, continuous improving process. There is an industrial standard framework. This is currently under development. This does not answer all the questions, but what does this seemingly confusing picture tell us about? Let's start with an example. If you start to work with a customer by demanding money from him first and then providing the job for him, then when does a customer starts revenue sharing with you? This is a very high level relationship with the customer. order taker. As an order taker, you should improve a lot to become a trusted advisor in this business relationship. But also a lot of things you should be able to understand. I'm sure many of you see this for the first time, but we should be the guys developing in this very direction. So, where are we now after reciting those seemingly confusing phrases? So first of all, we should have some business domain knowledge. And IT is a business domain, as it is, even if you don't know any other domains. So as soon as you start working in an IT company, like an ATL, extract transform load company, or something else, or a company building some sort of a middleware, IT is a business domain, for sure, so you have to understand it. There is also a question if you start consulting, if you're able to start consulting customers in this domain. This is a question, of course, but you have to have at least a minimal knowledge of it. Next comes the enterprise architecture. If we understand how we earn money in this domain, how those objects interrelate, how the life cycle works, so this leads us to understanding or identify a business model and identify the enablers, create an operational model, have the automation priorities on hand, and prioritize. So enterprise architecture is also a scope. As a consequence, there's also a management consulting skill set which is expected from us. If this whole thing is managed poorly, and if it's not articulated, the problems are not articulated in the management, then it will create distrust between you and the customer. Soft skills. I think you all agree, without those skills creating a welcoming atmosphere for the interaction, helping you to reach agreements, you can do nothing without it. And, well, the most important things here, which has to be included, this is working with different product or business domains, outsource development, product development, and customer development experience. So you have to tell those worlds apart. You have to understand what the difference between them, what functions and what does not. And so if you have a question inside of you, what is the difference between the PD and CD? This is the starting point where you should be looking at this direction and have to distribute this. But, unfortunately, this is all covered by the fact that there are different representatives in the company, different target groups. So your talk on the automation of the POS manager won't look like a talk or a discussion with the president of the company and the discussion with the boss of the POS manager, the software you're developing for. So this also influences the mindset, the skill sets, and those techniques that we use working with the customers.
Okay. And the natural question is that, so we have a general skill set like that, so it can fit many different roles, and we can say that the transfer from business analytics, doesn't matter which level of maturity it has, it contains some component of hybridization of the roles. So I will list some general skills which are always present in business analysis body of knowledge that we all like so much. And the first thing that is present in any of the layers of this method is the problem solving technique. So sometimes the problems are quite complex, there is a time pressure, and you see, like, we have a point, we are expected that, so it's quite integral and clear. Decision making supporters, this is quite a specific skill, probably not everyone thinks about this like that, but we sometimes don't have the it doesn't fall within the scope of responsibility to take these decisions, but we are expected to provide support in this regard, and there are a lot of demands like that. So this is also part of business analytics, and support is also one of the types of this activity. So business process improvers is also consulting skills, and business domain also contains business processes. Management and development of software contains business processes, and there are a lot of specialization in business analysis, which can be called like technologist or business process engineer, and this skill set is also quite popular activity. And also there is a reference to body of knowledge that we all like so much. Product owners and managers, those who worked in product companies know that products have their own life cycles. People earn money with software. There are a lot of business models. For example, they earn through licensing or selling some specific instances or a very old scheme, when for each transaction inside software you have to pay a fee. It's not very popular now, but still existing, and this aspect is also covered here, and in the standard version 3 issued in 2015. So, and of course it was prepared even earlier, so this demand exists in the market since quite a long time. Also, we have approaches to delivery and the development of software which need to be efficient, and they have to be sometimes combined, recomposed, and it's working on transparency, integrity, efficiency, some skills which help to avoid some inefficient labors and costs, and we have to be IT delivery evangelists, like prophets who have to support the efficiency, prophets of efficiency, and can help to improve any delivery process within IT. Probably you are tired of these theories, and I think you want to just ask, but how can we practically use it in our situation, in our activity? What shall we focus on to achieve at least some progress? Well, it's quite difficult to answer in one or two words, but I will try to give you a very concise answer from the point of view of specific analytics. I won't tell you about the industry as a whole, about various setups and various companies. It will be just point of view of a BA. So the focus shall be on the quality, not on the quantity. We have to, for example, if you enter in the search field in the YouTube business analysis, you will get a lot of search results, but you shouldn't look through all of them. Or even if you manage to look all these videos, that will this develop you or improve you? No. There is not so much content that will really help you to improve your skills. So the content should be of high quality. If we watch all the videos, then we spend a lot of time, but we don't have any progress. But if we use some quality criteria, for example, a person that is being shot from the side, telling some jokes, not only some specific details about the IT methods and techniques, then we won't watch these videos. We have to watch high quality video, good trainers, good coaches who will really help us to learn something. And also, as far as the quality criteria are concerned, I think we have to try to explain to ourselves what is high quality, what is something that helps us to develop in the right area or in the right direction. For example, here I tried to compare the standard criteria of maturity of MCMMI and how the experts assess these problems and challenges. So the first primary, the simplest is the, like we call it, drums in our orchestra. But the industrial, this is the industrial standards, the basis, the foundation. So the standards are quite versatile. We have at least 5 to 8 standards. We have to read all these standards, and this will create for us the basis, the starting point, and only based on that we can further think, well, we can do this or that. So this is the one of the ways to find a solution for the challenge. It's not the result yet, but it's something to start with. Without knowing the standards, we won't develop an efficient solution. The next level in the development of this understanding of whether the result is achievable is when a person can state, well, I can do this, I can fulfill this task the same way I did it earlier. I have some experience and can replicate, I can repeat this. So what is the advantage here? We have not only motivation, but we have confirmed results achieved earlier. So this is quite a lot, actually. But another important feature is that the world is dynamic, everything changes. For example, I developed software for mobile applications, and now I work in, for example, let's imagine I work in an oil company, and we have to settle some things with the legacy code, understand how it works, and what we need now. So we have to always change a little bit, adopt, improve our processes used in our company, change the techniques to be flexible and adaptive. And also, what is important here is to give some message, convey some message to our employees that they should not only do the same way as earlier, but also to improve in the same way as we did earlier. There are a lot of business cases, there are a lot of tasks, and some experience in improving and adaptation is even more needed than the experience of actually making something, some specific products. And another very difficult moral issue, how often do you hear at work, I guarantee that we'll achieve success in that? Very often people say, no, nobody can guarantee the result, etc., etc. But the answer, I guarantee the success, is based not only on some emotional feelings of a person who is going to do something, but it's also based on the motivation of the person. He knows the standards, he has experience, early experience of implementation of some specific IT scenarios, for example, to go and drive focus group of 4 executives, and he can also adapt to the situation if not only executive come to the meeting, and he knows that at the distance that he has to overcome, he knows the opponents, he made it already several times, he knows how to make compromises, balance, he knows how to present his ideas at the meeting, he knows whom he can tell what, how to show the weak and strong points on what he shall focus, how to construct a good dialogue, and that guarantees him to some extent the success if he really knows that. And having these heroes who can master these skills, then it's much easier to improve the business relations with the customer, to make it transparent, predictable. I will, of course, answer all the questions you have regarding this hot topic, but that's not the only thing that is demanded from us. There is a musical instrument that is called like a triangle, triangle, which makes this din sound. And this is a good example to explain to you what is the balance in the operation of our company. Because a specialist who provides consultancy to the customer on very serious matters, who is a navigator in the IT world, for him, it's very important to keep the balance between productivity, quality, and transparency of his activity. Because if you're a hard worker but nobody actually sees what you are doing, how you do it, you just only once per month you present the results, so somebody might say, so we pay salary to this guy, but what exactly he's doing? And this is this din sound produced by this triangle. So you work a lot, you have a lot of outcomes, you generate a lot of specifications, but nobody reads them, and nobody, if they do, they don't understand this. And also there are some gaps, some words, terminology that is really not clear how to interpret them, and everybody sees that you have a lot of artifacts, you do a lot of things, but it's not good quality because there are no transparent and specific results which can be practically used. Also, if we want to develop and progress in this area, then I think we can classify the things that are most important for us. So first to develop, we need a list of topics and skills that we have to develop. That we have, okay. So also we have to ask a question, whether we have high quality content and content on the skills that we can use today, tomorrow, and so that we select the best practices which work best in various situations, and we have to understand where the case is more complex or difficult, where we can find a quick solution, where we cannot find it. So it produces quite good vision and identification of this matter. Also, talking about our everyday work, we have to remember about the balance between quality, productivity, and transparency. If we have some shift to one of these sides, to one of these ages, then we'll won't have a good shape, same as a sportsman won't have a good shape if he trains only one muscle. And also the set of the skills that we're going to develop has to fit the vision of the company, of your company. For example, if you are working in this, if you still don't work in a service company, but you want to work in a service company, but you develop the skills that are not demanded by this company, then you won't be able to keep it. You have to find some synergy that is still demanded by the company you are working in, but also that will be demanded by the company you want to work for. And this will develop your maturity, develop your professionalism, and you will get good feedback from the customer, maybe delegated some powers to fulfill some tasks, to provide support in this or that area, and this will create your background, theoretical and practical, and will help you to use your talents as much as possible. So that's quite a rhetorical question or conclusion from my presentation. You see it on the screen, so you have to make a choice. Who will manage whom? Who will conduct whom? Yes. So, and thank you for your efforts, and I am ready to answer the questions.
Давайте я подойду.
So I'm mature enough to do it myself, yes. Good, good morning. Sorry, I have a sore throat. Oh, sorry. Unfortunately, I cannot hear the speaker because he is not using the mic. Thank you for your question. There are a lot of approaches that can be used. I won't tell you about all of those, but to summarize, the first one. So we form the expectations in every case, but you either manage it or it is generated automatically. There is no case when there are no expectations. The second point is that the expectations are always registered. It's difficult to measure them, but if we talk about some objective things, for example, the customer expects this release to be issued in March, and these expectations have to be registered, fixed. If they are overestimated, if they are too high, then we have to set other expectations, and also in order to do that we have to talk only to those who make decisions, and you have to form a group of supporters among these decision makers who will support you. And the third point, in all the decisions, everything you do, you have to look for some wow effect. When you exceed the expectations within the short period, so that your support group can really support you, have some basis to support you. So this is the short reference. Of course, it can be decomposed. I mean, it needs a lot of serious work. That's what's behind it. But this is a short summary of what can be done. How many experts of this level, of the 5 level, are working in your company now? Well, 1 month and a half ago, the people who are doing this now, right? Out of 35,000 employees and out of 1,500 analytics we have. So among analytics, it's only 25 persons. 25 out of 1,500. But it's not taken into account whom we had as analytics earlier, but they improved their skill sets. They are not analytics anymore, but they are working in other departments. So we have more than that, but if we talk about analytics only, it's only 25. The person does not use the mic, so I cannot interpret him. To summarize, the question is that how do you work with the very important customers with whom it's difficult to discuss advantages, disadvantages, because you cannot just say no to them. Well, I can make some points. It's very difficult, of course, because you never say no to any customer, not only to VIP customer. You just have to look for compromise, for balance. It's like you have to look for win-win situation. The skill to find compromises, it's like more like a negotiation skill, and it's only based on knowing the need of the customer, what is most important for your customer or opponent.
For instance, the foreign customers can be aggressive, they can be harsh, they can be non-flexible in finding compromises. They just push their own situations. I once entered a project and sitting in the first meeting, the customer used the F word 4 times, directed towards me. But this does not mean anything. It means only means that the customer has a need. And since we are still sitting in the same room, you have to offer something. Without knowing the need, without seeing him or her eyes, you just don't need, you can't do anything. After brainstorming the need, only after brainstorming the need, you have to come up with a tactical plan. How do you say A without signing for B? You have to find the balance. This is how you just answer the questions. Unfortunately, we're out of the time. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. I will be at the EPAM booth.